Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the episode 3 of the Monday Morning Solution podcast. In this episode, expect to learn the valuable lesson that I learned from spending an entire summer almost alone by myself as an international student. How solitude brought out the best version of me, what my first job taught me about myself, how reading actually transformed my life, and why I almost lost all of my savings, and much more. So, without further delay, let's dive into it. Language created the word loneliness to express the pain of being alone, but it created the word solitude to express the glory of being alone. So, summer 2024, May, all of my roommates left for India. So, I currently live with three roommates, and they are all fantastic, fabulous people. They actually went back to India to see their families. Some of them had some personal errands that they wanted to run, and it was basically their own choice to go back. But for some reason, which I'll share later in this episode, I actually decided that I did not want to go back to India for the summer and spend the entire summer here in the US, even though I kind of like missed my family to an extent, but I just wanted to stay here. And when I first, like for the first 1 week of me being alone, I felt it. I am going to be honest, I was uncomfortable. The house kind of seemed really quiet, and I actually like missed my roommates a lot, or like missed the whole vibe a lot. And at that point, I had to ask myself this question. I had two choices. Either I could choose to be lonely and cry about it, or change my decision and actually go back to India to visit my parents, stay with them for 3 months, or choose this opportunity that I had to embrace solitude and work on myself. And I'm glad that I actually chose the later. So, during the entire summer, I worked as an operations supervisor, a full time position at the recreation center of the University of Florida. And without a doubt, these 3 months or these 4 months of summer working full time changed my life and changed my perspective about myself. And what I wanted to emphasize in this very first point was that it is always a choice. I had the choice to be lonely, I had the choice to be miserable, I had the choice to wake up whining about my situation, or I had the choice to be grateful, I had the choice to embrace the solitude that was gifted to me and use that to work on myself to build myself up. Second point, what you do while procrastinating is the thing you should be doing for the rest of your life. So, it might be quite surprising, but I have never worked a job my entire life until I landed in the United States. So, I did my undergrad from Pune. It is a town back in India, and I completed my undergraduate degree in computer engineering. And I never actually did any internship during the entire 4 year period because most of that time was actually due to the COVID-19 situation. And after I graduated, I immediately came for my master's here in the US. And like working for the rec sports was my first job. And I remember getting hired as an associate, and I was so elated. Like I could not control myself. And I've been working out for almost 7 years now. And being able to get a part time job in a gym surrounded by people who are just like me, or at least most of them were like me, seeing people work out early in the mornings, learning about how the different facets of a recreational facility actually works. It was my dream job, to be honest. And when I got hired, I remember actually telling this to everyone that, hey, you know what? I am the luckiest person on earth because this is actually my dream job. Like, I have always wanted to be in this position my entire life. Because when I started working out, the profession of being a trainer, helping someone achieve their goals, helping someone look the way they want to look, talking to people, having productive conversations with them was something that I really look forward to. And what this made me realize, what the summer specifically made me realize, because I was actually working full time. So I remember during my first month of summer, we had a monthly meeting, and luckily or gratefully, I was the rookie OS, which is the operations supervisor of the month. Because starting summer 2024, I actually got promoted to the supervisor position. And I remember seeing the board or seeing the projector, and it said 157 hours worked. Just for context, that is like 3 hours short of pulling off an entire month of 40-hour work weeks. And I was shocked, to be honest. I was shocked to see those numbers because it did not even feel like it. I was there at one of the facilities for at least 7 to 5 to 7 hours every single day, minimum. I mean, I remember being there from open to close, which was more than 7 hours, but then I also got some of my days off during the entire week. And what this taught me was the reason I felt to not be working as hard or not be working or basically not be drained out of life was because I was doing something that I was genuinely passionate about. So I write here that I was super energetic on my job throughout the entire summer. I did not even felt I did not even feel like I worked that hard, or maybe like I put in a massive effort. I was doing the things that I was supposed to do. I was going a step beyond, making sure that the smallest of the things in the facility were being taken care of. I remember one of the days I actually went on a cleaning spree throughout the entire facility by myself, which was fun. And at the same time, I had my other colleagues, right? And they were definitely not in the same place as I was. Because for me, working there was like the best part or like the highlight of my day. Like, I couldn't wait to get back to the facility the next day. But some of them might not be as passionate about fitness or might not be as passionate about recreation like me. So I remember noticing their behavior. The moment they started the shift, they actually wanted to get out of it. So the moment the shift started, the countdown actually began. And I remember them saying that, hey, it's just 2 more hours, or 1 more hour, or half an hour more. And that struck me. It made me realize that when you genuinely are working towards something or working for something that you are passionate about, time flies by and you don't feel exhausted and you don't feel drained. And that was the main lesson from this point. That is, do something that you truly enjoy, and trust me, you will be able to pull off 7, 8 hour, 9 hour days without complaining. Because when you do something that you're truly in love with, passionate about, it is the work that is the reward. Like, you don't need anything else. Like, you don't need a specific amount of salary or like a bonus at the end of the month. The work in itself becomes the reward because you are able to do the things that you absolutely love doing. Point number 3: the man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. So over the summer, I fell in love with reading again. Because I remember last year, before I came to the States, I read only 2 books, which were Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and I read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And then for some reason, I actually stopped. And then during the summer, as soon as the summer actually started, I got back to reading books. And I started with this book called The 5 a.m. Club from Robin Sharma. And that kickstarted my transformation journey. So As I read more and more books throughout the summer, I kind of started noticing these patterns. And they were not that obvious, but they were really subtly, in a way, trying to grab the attention of the reader. So I read self-help books from different authors. That is the genre that I usually am specific about. I love reading self-help books, books regarding human psychology, or in general, books that help me get better at being myself, if that makes any sense. And as I read more books, these patterns started to emerge, meaning that majority of these authors were trying to say the same things. It was as if they took inspiration from each other while writing those books. And the dots just started to connect. The dots started to connect as I read 7, 8, 9 books. And then I realized something is that the reading, the books are not actually there to like solve your problems. They are there to show you the path. You still have to walk on that path by yourself. And there is this amazing quote from Austin Kleon's trilogy, which was, I think it was in Show Your Work, if I'm not wrong. It said, "It is not the book that you start with, but the book it leads you to." And if you place this philosophy in your life, you will realize that the book is just a method to lead you into an action, and that action is what going to get you the result that you dream of. So read and read and read, because this is one of the things that I learned from my favorite podcast currently called Founders by David Sendra. And he said that a characteristic trait common amongst all the successful people, we are talking people like Sam Walton, Andrew Carnegie, Edison, Steve Jobs, anyone, was that they did not just read books, they devoured entire shelves. This story about Thomas Edison, when he was trying to come up with the light bulb, and he was just in his early years trying to learn as much as possible, he used to go to the public library and he used to read all the books in the entire shelf about physics. And the thought of reading an entire shelf is just outwardly at this point for me, but I hope to reach a point in my life, maybe a decade or 2 decades later, where I can actually be in that position. Next point. Unsaid expectations are premeditated resentments. This is a quote from one of my favorite podcasts, again, from Modern Wisdom. And this was also a lesson that I learned from my boss at work. And she's this really, really gem of a person. I love her. And I have massive respect for her. She's always been this true guide to me. And she always says this, but she says this in like a different terminology. She said unsaid is always better than unsaid said. And this lesson I actually learned being in a semi leadership position in my workplace. Because the way it works is that we have the pro staff, we have the managers, which is also like a student position, we have the supervisors, which is the position that I'm working at right now, and then we have the associates. So during the summer, they hired new associates, right? I remember strikingly having a fresh batch of associates starting to work. And for some reason, they did not just start working at a pace that we expected them to. And we assumed that they would be as fluent with all the operations, all the tasks of the job, just like we were. But to be honest, they did not just start working at a pace that we expected them to. And we assumed that they would be as fluent with all the operations, all the tasks of the job, just like we were. But to be honest, it wasn't their fault, because we never made our expectations of them clear. We never told them that, hey, we need you to do this and we expect you to do this. And the language to be used, like the words that were supposed to be used, never actually came out of the mouth of us supervisors. And then we suddenly realized that instead of trying to tell them every single time to do something, to clean up one of the equipments or to fix something in the gym, why not just set a standard, set an example to them? Why not just do it in front of them when they are seeing or looking at us, so that they can not only learn how to do it, but they are given a model, a something to look up to. And the one thing that I learned, which absolutely has made my life so easy being as a supervisor, is that a quote from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is stingy in your criticism and lavish in your praise. You can go on pointing out the faults or pointing out the small things that someone did wrong on the shifts or what someone missed, and they are going to feel demotivated. They are going to be feel like they are going to feel let down. On the other hand, you could actually praise them for the things that they did right, and then towards the very end you can bring in the point that you want to pull out. But that blow has already been softened by all the praise that you just showered upon them. And I personally did not apply this a lot until recently, before the summer. And right from the time I started applying it, everything just changed. The response was super positive. They understood things much better. And I just realized that things don't need to be that complex. We need to meet them where they are, set them an example that they can look up to, and understand the fact that everyone works differently. So the main point is meet people where they are and convey your thoughts and your expectations as clearly and concisely as possible. The next point is the one who looks outside learns, but the one who looks within enlightens. A large part of my summer spent alone was actually spent me talking to myself. And even though it comes out as super crazy, it actually helped me discover who I was as a person and what my purpose was. Because what happens is, in this generation in 2024, we are being thrown at so much content, so much stimulation of the brain, that we cannot take some time alone by ourselves, be in solitude, and just try to listen to our thoughts. What does our mind wants to tell us? What is our body trying to tell us? Are we hurt? Is my leg hurting? Is my soul hurting? And as fancy as it may sound, all these things, meditating, journaling, listening to myself, going on long walks all by myself, running in the morning, these things brought me so much clarity. And people often get confused. They think that meditation and activities like running and working out are supposed to clear your mind. But here's the thing, you can never actually clear your mind, because the one job of your mind is to generate thoughts. So you are telling your mind to not do its one fundamental job. However, you can train your mind to arrange those thoughts in a strict manner. And that is what this means. To have clarity is to have a arranged manner, an arranged system of thoughts. They are not lying around everywhere. They are directed with one specific purpose. And once again, we have this amazing quote from a Russian poet. It says, "Do you remember who you were before the world told you who you were?" And I kept repeating that thing to myself over and over again. when we are children, we want to we want to become astronauts, we want to become singers and musicians. But as we grow up, the world tells us that hey, you cannot do that. And we, with age, kind of forget who we truly were as children, or who we truly wanted to be. And spending so much time by myself helped me dig those memories out, dig out those purposes, dig out those hidden characteristics within me that actually helped me rediscover myself and figure out that hey, I don't want to follow everyone else. I don't want to do the same things everyone else is doing. I don't want to get a job in some tech company that's going to pay $150,000 or $100,000 a year. I am happy living below my means, not spending money on luxurious things, and doing things that are worth doing to me. Running, working out in the gym, exercising, reading, watching YouTube. Like, I love YouTube. I live on YouTube because it helps me learn so many different things. I am a constant machine of consuming podcasts. And you don't need any extra money to do that. You can just do that off of your cell phone bill because Spotify is free. And that made me realize that following the herd will only bring regression to the mean. You cannot be the best at something you are not passionate about. So instead of following everyone and doing the things everyone else is doing, why not do the thing that I want to do and be really good at? And if I am lucky enough in the future, I might as well get paid for that. And that is the path that I decided to choose for myself. Materialistic pursuits seldom bring happiness. However, it can be found in the most minuscule of the tasks. So there is this really fascinating story associated with this. During the summer, I actually managed to save up some money because I was working a lot of hours and I had a fairly minuscule requirement of money during that time because the rent was kind of the same, but the utility bill was fairly low. The only other expense was the groceries, and I was making twice the amount of money I needed. So I saved up some money, and I strikingly remember that uh, one of the days I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers, and from nowhere this topic of Apple Watch Ultra came up. During that time, I was just starting to run every single day, and I needed a watch to track my runs accurately, and my current watch has a really poor battery life, so it was dying out on me every single time. So I, for some reason, decided that I wanted to buy an $800 watch. I go to Best Buy. I'm having second thoughts left and right. I'm thinking, hey, is this the right decision to make? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And I go to the salesman and I'm like, hey, I would like to buy this Apple Watch. He takes out the watch. I get the watch. I'm like, I wanted to trade in my current Apple Watch. We take the whole thing to the billing counter, and after the process, they kind of tell me that they cannot take my current Apple Watch as an exchange because I did not have an appropriate ID on me. And the deal just did not happen. So I did not buy the Apple Watch Ultra. And I was sad in that moment. But then a few days later, when I had enough time to think about this, analyze, I realized the fact that this was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I made a random decision, a hasty decision of going and purchasing something that I first of all did not actually need. I was trying to solve a problem that did not even actually exist. I could charge my watch twice a day and get the most out of it. And I was home twice a day, sitting in front of my computer. So why couldn't I just charge the watch then? And it suddenly all clicked. It's like sometimes we think that these material pursuits, these things that we buy are going to bring us happiness. They're going to fill in that block, the void that we have in our lives. And we, after buying them, we realize that they did fill it, but they kind of like filled it partially. It's still there. And the void is still going to get bigger and bigger as the time passes. And then I actually taught myself to get joy from the smallest of the things that I did throughout the day. Waking up in the morning and making that fresh batch of coffee, sipping that coffee slowly while watching the sunrise, or sipping it while watching a video or journaling. Then I remember enjoying going to Starbucks, ordering a $3 coffee, sitting there smelling the different coffees that were being served to people and actually studying for hours. That brought me joy. Sharing the things that I learned with my coworkers. I was reading a whole lot of books, listening to a whole lot of podcasts, and I kid you not, I used to bore my coworkers to death. Like I was sharing everything I learned with them, from like neurobiology all the way to sports science, nutrition, gut health, and on top of that, business, marketing, like all the topics. And that kind of gave me happiness as well because I was spreading my knowledge to other people, which they might actually utilize in some part of their life. And the last would be eating the meals that I prepared with my own hands for that day. And every single time I ate, I felt so much gratitude and so much happiness to be able to be in the position of being able to afford all of those meals. And I started incorporating these small wins throughout the day, these small checkpoints of happiness. And these actually brought me joy. I did not have to go out again looking for an expensive watch, an expensive pair of shoes that I did not need, an expensive wallet, a new phone, because they launch it every single year apparently. And I started to learn how to be happy because happiness is a practice. You have to teach yourself to be happy day in and day out. When you suffer before it is necessary, you suffer more than it is necessary. This was a hard lesson for me. And there is a very interesting story behind this. So, when I landed in the United States, I actually started learning how to edit videos because for some reason I thought that I would actually be able to make my first dollar editing videos in the same month that I started learning how to edit videos. Boy, was I wrong. Fortunately, I came across these wonderful people who own a gym here in Gainesville. I cultivated a relationship with them over 6 months, 7 months. I shot multiple free videos or like videos for them. And summer, finally, I had this opportunity to work on a paid project with them. And after I actually completed the project, which took almost 2 months, it was a time that I had to give them a quote, a slip, a payment receipt for the video. And since this was my first paid project, I had absolutely no clue how much to charge them. And obviously, I did not want to charge them less because then I would be undercompensating myself for the effort, the hard work that I had put. But at the same time, I did not want to overcharge them because I genuinely valued the relationship that I had cultivated with them. So what I did was on my shifts, I started asking my coworkers, I showed them the video and I started asking them, hey, how much do you think this should be paid for? How much do you think this is worth? And they threw these different numbers at me. And I remember the day I was going to go and deliver, I was ruminating so much about what would happen if I charge them extra? What would happen if I overcharge them? And my mind was just thinking about these scenarios, these things that could happen. Like, what if they don't pay me at all? Like, what if they decide that the video is not good enough? What if they don't like the video and don't want to work with me because they think that it's a waste of time? What if they decide to drop the project because they don't need me anymore? And my mind just started to come up with all these negative thoughts. And I had to solve this problem somehow. So that morning, I actually went to the pool, which is close to my house. I sat down on a chair next to it, and I pulled out my journal, which is on my iPad, and I started writing. And I used this technique called imagining the worst case scenario. So I plotted down the worst case scenario that could happen, which was maybe I won't get paid at all. Maybe they would say that they don't want my service anymore and they are unwilling to pay me. This was my worst case scenario. And then I thought about it. I still got to learn how to edit better videos throughout the process. I formed a genuine bond with someone from a foreign country, someone who actually cares about me, because he is so kind that he sends me messages asking about how I am, how I'm doing. We work out together sometimes. I go to their gym often. Never once have they asked me to pay to be in the gym. And I just like thought about the entire situation. And it turned out that even if they did not pay me, which was probably not going to happen and definitely did not happen, I still had so much that I got from that. I got an experience of editing videos. I formed a genuine bond with someone. I created friendships with a lot of people who went to that gym. And at the same time, I found a mentor. And I asked him actually that very day to be my mentor, because he's the owner of the gym. He's 47. He's a CrossFit trainer, absolutely fit, wonderful physique. And I just admire him for the way he is, for the way he takes care of all of his clients, for the way he handles the entire gym. And that was more than enough for me, because I had already received something which was way more precious than any amount of money that they could have paid me. The last one, or the second last one, is choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. So during the summer again, as I said earlier, I came across this book called the 5 a.m. Club. And the 5 a.m. Club had this morning routine, a ritual into it, which was the 5 a.m. morning ritual. And it was a 1 hour long ritual. The first 20 minutes was exercise, the second 20 minutes is meditation, and the third 20 minutes is journaling. And it was a tough ritual for me to practice, because first, I did not know how to wake up at 5 a.m. Second, there were a plethora of days where I was actually doing a opening shift, which was at 5 a.m. And due to these reasons, it was terrible. It was hard for me to practice this. And it was written in the book that it takes 66 days for a habit to form. So I had to do this routine for 66 days to fit it into my actual life. And guess what? I actually did it for 66 days. I remember there was this one time when I was doing 3 opens in a row, 3 5 a.m. shifts. And I used to wake up at 3 in the morning. Just imagine that, 3. I used to go to bed at 11 that night, because I still was doing the closing shift at the other gym. And I was sleeping for 4 hours, 4.5 hours, for 3 days in a row. And I still pulled off those 3 days. And that made me realize that we underestimate our potential so much. We think that I'm just not made for that. I would never be able to do that. Oh my god, I don't know how you do that. And all these thoughts and all these words just come out of us. But the thing is, even I did not know how to do that. I did not know how to wake up that early. I did not know how to run. I remember the time when I started running, I used to struggle to do a mile. And now I'm at like doing 6, 7 miles. That is consistent growth. And that happens because you chose the hard right over the easy wrong. It would have been so easy for me to say that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take the morning shift. Let someone else do it. I'm going to stay in my bed and I'm going to chill out. Easy. It would have been easy to say that, hey, I want to watch this movie on Netflix before I go to bed. So I'm not gonna go work out. I'm not gonna go run because it's too hard. But the growth that comes out of choosing the hard right is unparalleled to anything that would come out of having a comfortable and easy life. The last one, finally, is 90% of all the problems come from our inability to sit in a room quietly all by ourselves. And this quote was given by Blaise Pascal. And this quote sums it all up. It sums up the entire episode of the podcast, which was based around me learning lessons of life from staying alone by myself for 3 months, 4 months. And people have this thought that humans are social creatures, which is absolutely right. We are social animals. We need people to survive. We need to have bonds. We need to cultivate relationships that help us move forward in life. But then at the same time, we also need to have space for ourselves. We need to have room to grow ourselves, to cultivate the best version of ourselves. And that can only happen if you decide to give yourself the time that you need, to prioritize yourself over anything else. And a lot of people say that things are not for them, as I mentioned previously, that they are not built for that thing, they are not capable of doing that thing. But how would you actually know if you did not even give it enough time? As Robin Sharma mentioned in his book, it takes 66 days for you to form a habit. If you did not wake up or try to wake up early for 66 days consistently in a row, how can you say that you are not meant to wake up early? We need to give ourselves that buffer. We need to give ourselves that time to adapt to the new stimulus. We need to endure the process. And basically what it comes down to, that life is going to throw these big rocks of difficulty at you. It's going to happen. Things are going to get tough. Things are going to get challenging. And the only way for you to see those challenges through is by being the most optimal, the best version of yourself. And as I mentioned earlier again, that kind of growth, that kind of mindset, that kind of a consistency only comes through knowing yourself and your purpose to the core. You need to have a really, really strong why, and the how will follow the why. If anyone is listening to this show, if you are alone, I want to let you know that you are not. There are a lot of people out there in the world who are in the exact same place as you are, who are wearing the exact same shoes as you guys are. And they are enduring. They are pushing forward every single day, trying to become the best version of themselves. And at the end of the day, it is a choice. You can either choose to be miserable, to cry out loud because no one is there with you, because no one is there to support you. Or you can use this time, you can use this solitude to understand yourself better, to know yourself better, to connect to the deepest emotions within you, to make yourself better physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And this time of your life will definitely pass. It is not a permanent situation, but you need to endure the entire process through. And during that, you need to work on yourself as much as possible. So I appeal to you, take this time to heal yourself, take this time to understand yourself better, and this will pay dividends down in the future. That was it for today's episode. Thank you so much, you guys. Whoever has listened this episode to this point, I'm extremely grateful to it. I hope you guys enjoyed the entire episode. If you are someone who might be interested in to my personal life as an international student living in the United States, training for his first half marathon, I am a workout freak. If you would be interested in peeking into my life, I also have a YouTube channel by my name, which is Aditya Thakur. I'll put the link down in the description to make sure that you guys check it out. And once again, thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next episode. And until then, take care.